In the humble, sun-baked town of Bacolod, life had always moved slowly. The dusty streets, lined with uneven bamboo huts and crumbling corrugated roofs, rarely witnessed anything extraordinary. Yet on this day, a ripple of excitement traveled through the village like a sudden breeze on a sweltering afternoon. Word had spread that a local girl named Cebu, known for her soulful and hauntingly honest voice, would be performing on a stage unlike any she had seen before. For the residents, most of whom were farmers or vendors scraping a living from the stubborn soil, this was more than just entertainment. It was a spectacle that felt almost unreal. Even the village carabao, tethered nearby and lazily grazing on the sparse grass, seemed to sense the significance of the moment, lifting its head and flicking its ears in curiosity. Cebu's presence carried a quiet power. Her worn sandals scuffed against the uneven wooden floorboards as she stepped into the spotlight, her simple blouse fluttering in the warm, dusty air. She carried with her not just a voice, but a story of hardship, resilience, and unshakable hope that resonated deeply with every face in the audience. The villagers watched with a mix of awe and disbelief. For many, the stage lights reflected off their suntanned skin like a distant promise of a world beyond the dirt roads and coconut trees. Children, barefoot and clutching tattered dolls, leaned forward on shaky wooden benches, eyes wide as if expecting magic to literally descend from the sky. Vendors paused mid-sale, basket in hand, while elderly men and women rested on low stools, their faces etched with lines that had seen decades of toil, worry, and endurance. And throughout it all, the carabao remained a silent, almost mystical observer, its large brown eyes fixed on Cebu, as if it understood that something rare and beautiful was about to happen. When Cebu began to sing her rendition of Breakeven, her voice carried a raw, almost aching honesty. Every note floated across the open-air venue, weaving through the tin roofs and straw walls, brushing against every listener's heart. The crowd felt her pain, her vulnerability, and her determination. They felt it as if it were their own. The connection between Cebu and the villagers was immediate and electric. Even the simplest of the crowd, who rarely ventured beyond their rice paddies or market stalls, felt the pull of her voice. Some wiped tears from their faces, others clutched their hats to their chests, and the carabao, for reasons no one could explain, bellowed softly, almost in approval. It was a sound that punctuated the moment, signaling the bond between the performer and her audience, human and animal alike. In Bacolod that day, music was not just entertainment, it was survival, hope, and triumph all rolled into one. Cebu, standing there with nothing but her voice, her courage, and her heart, transformed the dusty village square into a place of wonder, a place where dreams could momentarily outshine reality. By the time the final note lingered in the air, every face, every soul, and even the carabao seemed to understand that this was not just a performance, it was the beginning of something extraordinary, a spark that would ignite far beyond the humble borders of Bacolod. Seated at the judge's table, Manila, a figure usually associated with polished sophistication and sharp critiques, looked strangely out of place amidst the humble, sun-drenched chaos of Bacolod. His crisp shirt and shiny shoes contrasted sharply with the dust-streaked faces and worn sandals of the villagers, yet even he could not ignore the magnetic pull of Cebu's performance. At first, Manila's expression was guarded, skeptical, a protective wall shaped by years of witnessing talent overshadowed by showmanship. But as Cebu's voice soared, carrying heartbreak, resilience, and hope in each note. That wall slowly crumbled. The intensity of her emotion was tangible, filling the open-air space and penetrating every corner where the villagers had gathered. Manila's eyes wandered to the carabao grazing nearby. The creature had stopped mid-chew, its large brown eyes seemingly locked onto Cebu, as if sensing the raw power of her performance. For a fleeting moment, human and animal shared the same awe, both witnesses to the same inexplicable moment of magic. The villagers themselves reacted with a mix of unrestrained joy and reverent astonishment. Faces streaked with dust, and sweat lit up with tears, and even the children, who had only seen entertainment in passing glimpses at a neighbor's TV, felt a connection deeper than anything they could articulate. Some villagers clasped their hands to their chests, others whispered prayers, overwhelmed by the beauty and authenticity of what they were witnessing. The rural setting only amplified the effect. Without elaborate lighting, special effects, or a glamorous stage, Cebu's voice was the sole star, shining brighter than any manufactured spectacle. Manila, who had seen countless auditions and performances, found himself leaning forward, captivated despite himself. He felt the room's energy shift, the villagers' collective heartbeat syncing with the highs and lows of the song. Then came the golden buzzer moment. Manila, usually composed and reserved, could not contain the swell of emotion rising inside him. With a decisive press, the buzzer lit up with a blinding gold glow, casting reflections across the dirt floor and the tin rooftops. The reaction was immediate and chaotic in the best way. Villagers erupted into cheers, jumping, clapping, and shouting as the carabao let out an almost startled bellow that blended perfectly with the human jubilation. The animal's cry, raw and unpolished, somehow amplified the excitement, creating a surreal symphony of rural celebration. Manila's face softened, a rare smile breaking through his professional stoicism, as he realized that Cebu's performance had transcended not just the stage, but the very expectations of everyone present. The humble, dust-covered village square had become a theater of triumph, where raw talent, perseverance, and human emotion converged in a single, unforgettable moment. For the people of Bacolod, and even for the quiet observer, the carabao, Cebu's performance was not just entertainment. It was proof that greatness could emerge from the most unexpected places, illuminating lives that had known little more than struggle and hard work. Backstage, the scene was a mixture of dust, excitement, and raw emotion. Cebu, still catching her breath from the powerful performance, leaned against a weathered wooden fence where the carabao had wandered close, seemingly drawn to her energy. The animal nuzzled gently against the rough planks, as if offering silent congratulations, its large, warm eyes reflecting the golden glow of the buzzer that still shone brightly above the stage. Villagers from Davao, Iloilo, and Zamboanga crowded the narrow alleyways, their faces streaked with dirt and tears, hands clutching one another, hats pressed to their chests in a mixture of pride and disbelief. For them, Cebu's achievement was no longer just a personal triumph, it was a communal victory. Each cheer, each gasp, each sob of joy carried the weight of countless struggles, reminding them that even in the poorest corners of the Philippines, greatness could shine through. Cebu's performance had created a bridge between worlds. The stark contrast between the simplicity of the rural streets and the dazzling spectacle of AGT 2025 stage made her success feel almost impossible, and yet, here it was, undeniable. Villagers whispered to one another, recounting every note, every quiver in her voice, replaying moments where she seemed to pour every ounce of her life's hardships into the song. Even the carabao, contentedly chewing on a patch of grass nearby, seemed to embody the rural heart of the community, absorbing the triumph as if it were a participant, not just a bystander. Cebu's humility and authenticity made the moment feel sacred. There were no fancy costumes, no elaborate props, only a girl, her voice, and a crowd that understood her struggle. As the villagers celebrated, Cebu allowed herself a small, reflective smile. The journey that had brought her from quiet corners of Bacolod to the national stage had been anything but easy. Each step had been met with doubt, each note often practiced in solitude, often unheard by anyone beyond the worn walls of her home. Now, in this alley crowded with faces full of awe and affection, she finally felt the full weight of her accomplishment. Manila's golden buzzer, the cheers of strangers and friends alike, and even the soft, grounding presence of the carabao, all combined into a moment she would never forget. The performance was more than a song. It was a testament to resilience, hope, and the power of dreams to rise from the most unlikely of places. In that dusty, sun-drenched alley, under the soft hum of a grateful village and the gentle snore of a cow, Cebu's journey had taken its first giant leap towards something extraordinary. The story of a humble girl from Bacolod reaching the national stage would not be forgotten, echoing in the hearts of those who witnessed it. A true tale of triumph over circumstance that could inspire countless others to believe in the impossible.